Appel, promoting the full participation of children with disabilities through education, is a program designed by Handicap International with the support of the AFD and implemented in 6 West African countries including Burkina Faso, Togo, Mali, Niger, Senegal and Liberia.
Le Mali, le Niger, le Sénégal et le Libéria. Le Togo et le Burkina ont développé.
Burkina Faso and Togo have developed innovative mechanisms that they have been implementing for a number of years now. This involves the itinerant teacher and families support systems in Togo and CTIS and inclusive classes in Burkina Faso.
Classe inclusive au Burkina Faso.
Dans le dispositif, c'est nous qui les identifions.
In the mechanism, we are the one who identify children with disabilities and send them to the schools where they are taken care of by the teachers we supervise.
Au sein des écoles.
They toured around to identify our children. They told us that they would help us educate our children. But to be honest, at that time we were a bit doubtful about the project. At the beginning of the school year, we realized that our children were in the same classrooms with other children.
Inclusive education provides an opportunity for all children to be enrolled in the school of their home villages. In the past, we were compelled to stream them into special schools far from their homes. But thanks to inclusion, they can be enrolled in the school of their home village.
Nous avons 4 écoles.
This innovation is in practice in 4 schools. That is to say, the school of Tanguay, the school Application A, the school of Wansoa, and the school of Boulsin. We started with CETIS classes, and later on, we upgraded into inclusive classes.
Vers ces classes inclusives.
CETIS, c'est la classe.
Transitory inclusive education classes refer to a mechanism designed to accommodate children into a classroom where a teacher teaches them sign language. They also follow the Primary 1 and Primary 2 programs. This has been in practice since 2005 when Handicap International developed this initiative in Transitory in collaboration with the Ministry of National Education involving a number of instructors.
L'enseignement vraiment en langue des signes n'est pas chose facile.
Teaching in sign language is not an easy task. Actually, from the first or the second year, it is difficult to simultaneously teach children with disabilities and children with normal hearing. That's why we start with CTIS classes before moving towards inclusion in grade 3. This is meant to enable children with disabilities to get the basic skills required to follow the lessons with others.
Alors, ceci donc pour permettre aux enfants en situation d'acquérir le minimum pour pouvoir suivre les leçons avec les autres.
Bon, il faut reconnaître qu'au début, il y a certains parents d'élèves des enfants.
At the beginning, some parents of the so-called normal children were reluctant to educate their children together with children with disabilities. They feared that this would have a negative impact on the quality of education. Through awareness raising, they have realized that conversely, that was beneficial to their children.
Sont arrivés à comprendre qu'effectivement, leurs enfants même gagnent même plus que les enfants en situation de handicap. Leurs enfants, ils entendent ce que le maître dit et en plus de ça, il y a les signes.
Last time, while the teacher was away, he took his textbook and came to ask me to give him some explanation on the number 1000, and I helped him to understand.
In some groups, children with disabilities are the leaders, while other groups are led by so-called normal pupils. They work together and everyone has a role to play, so they cooperate and help one another.
Et ça va.
My child passed his primary and elementary education certificate here before going to the secondary school of Transitory. The perception of the community has changed because at the beginning people did not believe in the project. But now our parents and friends keep asking us, how did you manage to achieve so much change in your kids?
Even the fact that children can go to school to learn is a source of great satisfaction for us. It is painful to have a child suffering for hearing impairment, but thanks to the education, he can write and easily communicate with others.
Il faut relever l'accompagnement permanent depuis le début du CEFIS, qui est un centre.
From the onset, it is important to constantly increase the support provided by CEFIS, which is a center for deaf and hearing children.
Les enseignants de ce centre et la directrice elle-même
and its director and the teachers have been training and monitoring the training of trainers since 2005.
The training we were given has too many gaps, so much so that we cannot properly handle all kinds of situations in the classroom.
We were trained in sign language, but we wish the training lasted longer. The teacher is doing his level best to satisfy these children. You're supposed to teach in a language in which you've been given only a 4-week training. It's hard, especially since we do not have the opportunity to practice outside.
In primary school, we work on language skills. To prepare them for socialization, we need figurines to represent family members. We also need figurines to teach the different lessons.
Il faut des figurines pour ça, pour pouvoir dispenser les différentes sortes de leçons.
Teaching with traditional methods and translating into sign language is a double work, and we receive no incentives for that. I mean, the type of pedagogical innovations or the compensations paid to some of our colleagues.
My wish is that they keep helping us to ensure that our children continue to go to school, because we will be very happy if there is no interruption in their studies.
Qu'il y ait vraiment une ligne budgétaire soit dégagée pour soutenir bien sûr.
A budget line should be made available to support inclusive education. There should be training modules for teachers and supervisors in primary school teacher training schools and also at the secondary school teacher training school of the University of Togo, so that teachers will master appropriate techniques to supervise children with disabilities.
Ces écoles-là nantient bien sûr de ces techniques-là pour pouvoir encadrer les enfants en situation de handicap.
En 2009, quand nous avions commencé l'identification des enfants.
In 2009, when we started screening the children, we took into account all forms of deficiencies without discrimination, including all forms of mild or severe hearing, visual and mental deficiencies.
Plus la déficience mentale, qu'elle soit légère ou lourde.
Nous avons après l'identification de ces enfants handicapés.
After we identify children either in school or out of schools, we refer them either to the mainstream schools, special schools, or into families.
Se fait à l'école, se fait dans les écoles spécialisées, se fait aussi en famille.
J'étais devant ma cour et il y a un...
I was in front of my house when an AFMODO agent came to me. He had been conducting a census in the neighborhood when someone showed him my house. We discussed, and since then we've been working together.
On a commencé par travailler ensemble.
The first day I did not accept because I felt shameful about it. They reassured me and told me about their work with children with disabilities. I opened up to them and they gave me some advice.
CBR agents volunteer in support of the community. They support people with disabilities by empowering them. Only advisory guidance and games can help stimulate children in their activities.
Avec des conseils, des jeux, qu'on arrive à stimuler l'enfant dans ses activités. Nous avons reçu certaines formations.
We've been trained in family support activities, such as the development of the child from birth to age 12, or how to make a child with a severe disability sit down. We've been trained in speech therapy, Braille and sign language to enable us to communicate with these children.
Before the inception of the family support, children were taken care of by their mothers.
Le soutien que nous apportons va tout d'abord directement à l'enfant.
The support we provide enables to empower the children and helps parents change their perception of their child with disability. A schedule of appointments and follow-up visits is established with the family.
Nous avons des rendez-vous et nous faisons des suivis. Et lorsque nous venons pour faire le travail, nous-mêmes nous exerçons, nous menons quelques activités techniques.
During our visits, we conduct some technical activities and encourage parents to do the same in our absence. Every day we visit the families in the field to carry out our activities. Our presence in the families and our commitment to the child facilitates the integration of children with disabilities in the community.
Notre présence dans la famille et notre attachement envers l'enfant fait que la population ou bien la communauté est en train de s'adapter à l'enfant.
L'initiative du soutien en famille est venue briser.
The Family Support Initiative has helped break many taboos that existed. Today, parents have realized the importance of not hiding out their children and stimulating them to acquire certain autonomy.
Pour qu'ils puissent acquérir une certaine autonomie.
En Afrique, quand on a de ces enfants-là, les gens pensent que tu as fait quelque chose.
In Africa, when you have children with disabilities, people think it is divine punishment because you did something wrong. When you have children like that, people do not like to approach you. They will flee from you. Since Jean contacted me, he's been coming here, and we talk openly for everybody to see us. Now people have realized that this is not something mystical.
L'entourage nous voit. Ça a donné beaucoup de l'affection. Ils ont su en même temps que c'est quelque chose de réel.
She began to express herself by crying, but now she can recognize people. Thanks to the rehabilitation, she can remain seated in this position. We also gave her a chair on which she can sit thanks to the rehabilitation.
Elle ne pouvait même pas prendre cette position-là. Oui. Mais avec la rééducation, elle a commencé par prendre cette position. Et puis, la chaise qu'on nous a fait en toute dernière position, là, avec la rééducation, elle s'asseyait maintenant dedans.
Pour moi, mon enfant, je vois...
Rehabilitation has been helpful to my child. Afmoto gave me this chair, you can see. Now, thanks to the chair, he can move around.
Il ne faisait même pas 4 pattes et il ne marchait pas. Donc,
he was not even able to crawl on his knees and hands. Thanks to Afmoto, he has made much progress. We also did some rehabilitation at the hospital, and we were given many things to take home.
à la maison, si on nous a donné beaucoup de choses.
At the beginning, we used to pay at least 2,500 CFA francs per rehabilitation session, but now Afmoto is bearing rehabilitation fees.
L'attente de tous les parents, en tout cas d'enfants handicapés, ont plus ou moins une satisfaction.
All parents of children with disabilities are satisfied because children were selected without any discrimination. All children were taken care of. Those who have not been able to integrate mainstream or specialized school facilities are provided families support.
Quand même dans la famille. Et ça s'est ressenti avec l'autonomie de ces enfants.
All this has improved their life skills. Some children who used to remain in a supine position were now able to sit down thanks to the provision of appropriate equipment. This has earned them a place as a full member of the families, and especially mothers are relieved. They can now go on with their activities without having to take care of the child all the time.
À leurs occupations sans être obligés de garder l'enfant tous les jours.
Au niveau du dispositif,
in the mechanism, we have partners such as CRAF, which provide functional rehabilitation and orthopedic fitting, such as seat support orthosis for children, and Handicap International provides support in terms of skills development.
en matière de compétences.
My wish is that they continue to support us in order to ensure the development of my child. That would be much appreciated because it will be very helpful.
C'est pas parce que l'enfant est trisomique, c'est pas parce que
Even when a child has Down syndrome and a severe deficiency and is totally dependent, we should not ignore the opportunity to be autonomous and even integrate the specialized classes in the long run.
pour long ou moyen terme, le système ordinaire ou spécialisé.
The main difference between an itinerant teacher and a community-based rehabilitation agent lies in how they conduct their interventions. We intervene in the families while the itinerant teacher intervenes in schools to support the teachers and the children.
Et l'élève. La division des enseignements et de la vie.
The Division of Pedagogy and School Life is tasked with the education of children with disabilities in the Savannah region.
Handicapés dans la région des savanes. L'éducation inclusive elle-même nécessite la
Inclusive
formation d'abord des
education
enseignants.
requires teacher training and the availability of teaching materials. It also requires awareness raising of parents and communities.
Du matériel didactique.
On a essayé de former les enseignants, soit pendant 3 jours avec des recyclages pour qu'ils puissent accueillir les enfants dans les systèmes ordinaires.
We train teachers for 3 days so they can welcome children in mainstream classes. But we are aware, both the team and the teachers, that there were limitations. It takes more than a 3-day training to properly take care of and educate a child. For the blind children, we have decided to implement the system of itinerant teachers. Following the teaching experience in a specialized school, the CEFRA located in the commune of Dapaong had already begun to test out the system.
On avait déjà commencé à expérimenter ce système.
In 1996, the CEFRA began streaming children with disabilities into mainstream classes. This enabled to follow up the hearing and visually impaired children integrated in schools.
L'école étant la propriété de l'État, il fallait se retourner vers la direction régionale de l'éducation.
The school being state-owned, we had to reach out to the Regional Directorate of Education because as a stakeholder of the project, it is the only institution that can supply teachers. That's how we started working with them to define the job description, the TOR, the profiles and roles of the teachers.
Leur profil de poste, échanger également sur leur cahier de charge et on a lancé le test.
In close collaboration with the Regional Directorate of Education, we collected, screened and interviewed applicants. We ended up hiring 3 itinerant teachers.
Effectivement, à la collecte des candidatures, aux tests, aux interviews et à la rétention de 3 enseignants itinérants.
In this class, I take care of children with physical disabilities. Clémence is also by my side. She suffers from a cerebral palsy. In other classrooms, I take care of other types of disabilities.
These teachers have been trained in welcoming children with disabilities and in inclusive education. They are well equipped and they can support teachers, parents, and pupils when faced with difficulties.
I have 2 main tasks. One consists in supporting children with disabilities, and the other is supporting the teachers who supervise those children. I follow the daily program of the teachers, and I work with the children when I realize there is something they don't understand. I also support the teachers when they have difficulties in delivering the course. Together, we decide which methodology to adopt in order to help the children better understand the course.
L'appui de l'enseignant itinérant consiste à fournir les documents adaptés. Quand je prends par exemple un enfant non-voyant qui est dans une classe,
the support to the itinerant teacher consists in providing him with the appropriate documents. It is up to the itinerant teacher to provide the visually impaired child with the appropriate manual in Braille. For quarterly assessments, the itinerant teacher must adapt the examination subjects. Or, when working on the digestive system, the itinerant teacher must adapt the sketch of the digestive system in tactile drawings. We must also ensure that the child participates in sign language classes. That is why the itinerant teacher is required to adopt an IEP approach, that is to say, the individual educational plan.
Éducatif individuel. Quand il connaît le problème de l'enfant, ensemble avec l'enseignant ordinaire, quel projet éducatif individuel il va concevoir pour tel enfant et autres.
250 divisé par 5.
215 divided by 5. I take 25. How many times do I have 5 in 25? There are 5 times 5. I write 5.
J'écris mon 5.
5 times 5 equals 25.
The child with disability sits next to a student called the guardian. In my classroom, there is a female guardian. She helps the child write in Braille and reads the text that is written on the blackboard when the teacher did not have time to write them in Braille.
Quand même de brailler ça pour elle pour plus copie. Donc il ne fait que lire et l'enfant copie. En braille, qu'est-ce que nous faisons?
Then the guardian reads out and the child writes down in Braille. I write a summary on the blackboard and the guardian who is next to the child with visual impairment reads out the text. The guardians are not trained. They are chosen out of affinity or affection.
The learning achievements of children supervised by itinerant teachers are much higher than those of the children with disabilities referred but who did not benefit from the support of itinerant teachers. Parents of children who are not supported by itinerant teachers feel disadvantaged and start inquiring, similar to teachers who have children with disabilities and who do not benefit from the support of itinerant teachers.
Nous sommes tiraillés de gauche à droite.
Throughout the area, the need has been expressed. We are overwhelmed and we are not able to appropriately visit the children. Actually, there is a critical shortage of itinerant teachers. Another problem is that this system is yet to be recognized by the state because it is regional in scope. Although we are civil servants, our work is not recognized by the ministry.
Notre ministère ne le reconnaît pas encore.
C'est dommage, ils ne peuvent pas aller dans toutes les écoles vu qu'ils ne sont que 3. C'est également dommage parce que chaque enseignant itinérant ayant sa spécialité.
They cannot afford visiting all the schools because there are only 3. In addition, each itinerant teacher has a specialization and only works with the children having the disability in which they are specialized. If we are to model the plan at all, itinerant teachers should be trained to handle different deficiencies and a zoning should be made so that the teacher could cover an entire area, or the system should be reviewed so that all children can be supported instead of prioritizing them.
Itinerant puisse couvrir cette zone et avec tous les enfants, ou carrément revoir le système pour que tous les enfants puissent être pris en charge au lieu d'avoir des priorités.